That to me is where you get into the valuable aspect of things. We all know what an emergency fund is. We know the rule of thumb. You can Google that. The real question is, what amount of months is right for you? And then more importantly, how do you create a structure to where that stays intact? Because if you don't have emergency, God's been good, whatever it is you believe, the universe has looked out for you, inflation hasn't looked out for you. So now that 6 months is now eroded down to 3, do you allow yourself to have the same strategy another decade?
I know what I want, know what I watch, know what I read. I know what I want. Quick in the ear, quick in the heart, be slow to speak. Yeah. Persistence and patience, relations I'm facing, developing me. Yeah. Together they better the weather to ripen the fruit on the tree. Yeah.
So again, your genuine self, one thing we do enjoy about this is the ability to have the interactions with individuals. Nothing better. Nothing better than that. That is the joy of life when it comes to one of our values and principles of your genuine self. Like, there's so much information that's out there, so we want to make sure we're able to find that information and have conversations around how that is valuable. So when we meet people and they're insightful, it's like, wow, their perspective, their world, it's beautiful. And it's amazing because you can see the work that some people put into the thought process before we meet them. Like, you can tell that they've took the time to think. And with this world and the way it's created, we bring value so people can feel comfort in their life. So what that does is it can spoil us. It can allow us to be lazy because we no longer have to go out there and milk the cow if we want fresh milk. So therefore, we don't have to really put thought into some of the things we've done because it becomes a habit. So when people think about the true nature of us as human beings, you can really see the confidence in when we have a conversation with them. It's beautiful. It really is.
You see, so again, that's why I say, what's next? Not necessarily retirement. What's the next chapter in my life? Okay, I figure out how much money I'm making, and I do the math on and say, okay, well, how much can I save? Okay, I'm saving this much a month, I'm saving this much a year. What am I doing with it? Am I investing it? What am I investing it in? What's the return on my investment? When I started, we didn't have an emergency fund. Well, what's an emergency fund? About $10,000. So if you don't have $10,000 in an emergency fund, well, where are you going to put it? You going to leave it in a bank? No. I got an investment. And so I'm not touching it, don't need it. So if I don't have an emergency where I need it, guess what? It keeps growing. Compound interest, different things that we didn't know about or weren't taught. Now I know these things, and so I'm able to do better. So as you learn and educate yourself, and then you start surrounding yourself with people who want to do the same things, you can be elevated.
As it's basically liquid waiting for us to use in the event emergency hits us. But let's say we're talking 10 years from now. That money that may or may not have been used for an emergency would not have kept pace with inflation. So now the 6 months of savings that I had, it may be only 3 months now. Maybe it's only 4 months now. Do I need to address that? Do I need to think about perhaps investing more of the emergency fund, maybe leaving just a month's supply in a savings account? That to me is where you get into the valuable aspect of things. We all know what an emergency fund is. We know the rule of thumb. You can Google that. The real question is, what amount of months is right for you? And then more importantly, how do you create a structure to where that stays intact? Because if you don't have emergency, God's been good, whatever it is you believe, the universe has looked out for you, inflation hasn't looked out for you. So now that 6 months is now eroded down to 3, do you allow yourself to have the same strategy another decade? Or do you look at it and say, okay, now it's time to readjust I had a beginner's level emergency fund, but now I'm about to get a little bit more intricate and take this to another level. And I'm going to park this emergency fund in an investment fund or some type of investment to where I can at least keep pace with inflation. So again, a keyword invest is a very general term. That is something you can Google. That's information that's easily available. What to invest in is the valuable part that you have to look inward to decide on. And that's where that genuine self comes into play. So I'm not going to tell you what you should or should not be doing, how you should or should be doing it. I'm just going to simply ask the question: 1, do you have an emergency fund? 2, how well is it established? 3, how many months can you survive on said emergency fund? And 4, now that you have this up and running, how do you think about the structure of your emergency fund a decade from now? I want to hear from you.